Next thing was to discuss the 2025 budget, and I'm remiss in not having gotten to this a little bit earlier. There have been a number of back and forth communications even today with Clark, Patrick, Jamie, and me. One thing that we wanted to talk about was the, as far as an expense item, was this would be every other year we've done the member survey. And the question was the benefit versus the cost of doing that. It was in the neighborhood of $2,500, Patrick?
Last 2 years, 2023, we spent $2,000 to hiring a licensed CAM to be our point of contact to all the members on it. So that was the only expense, was paying for the licensed CAM to interface with the property manager.
Right. So the question, and we had about, how was it, 23 participants? No. Okay. So the question is cost benefit of that. And if we were to move ahead, could we, with the right committee structure, kind of do the beating of the bushes ourselves without effectively a consultant? I personally think there would be benefit of this if we promote it more actively, particularly with the storms. We've now got a base year, a trend line, and then the storms. And so hopefully the storms will give more data. It will hopefully foster more participation. I think Patrick and I had like 3 inquiries in the last 6 months for buildings looking for the survey results as they're working with their boards on budgets. So what we've done on the draft budget is we've put in half the money that we had a year and a half ago in the hopes of finding a volunteer group and either not using any of that money or using a more limited amount. Again, I'm of the belief that DSCA is getting more visibility. People will see more of a benefit of this given storms. And it would be in a way a shame, it would be an opportunity cost, in my opinion, to not do it. So I guess we're looking for concurrence. We'll bring back final budget for adoption in January, but looking for direction from the board to keep that survey as part of the budget. I hope, can we say that there's a consensus on the $1,200, or is there anybody that's got a?
What's the line item that you refer to? Do we put it into? You remember?
I think it's called condo survey.
I think it just says condo
Condo
survey.
survey.
Could you enlighten me? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused. It's a condo survey about what?
This is the survey we do send out to our condominium members, asking them a whole range of questions
Okay,
on their finances and amenities and uses.
okay.
So
Okay.
we've got 2021 and 2023 data.
So
So,
it's pretty accurate then.
It's
So far.
40 or 50 questions or something like that. Right. So we will proceed to keep that in the budget, bring it back for further approval. The other thing on the revenue side, we're assuming no increase in condo participations for next year, to be on the conservative side. I personally think we're beating the bushes, and I know there are a couple member firms, it's $250 a piece, but we're out trying to be, Patrick's encouraging us to be conservative for the budget. So what you saw in your packet, there have been some modification to that. I don't want to burden the meeting with going through every item. The one expense on there is our marketing support person, which is in the neighborhood of $12,000 or $14,000 a year. That covers the newsletter plus backroom stuff and whatever. But I'm of the belief that we're on a pretty good roll with Robin now, and that is money well invested in DSCA's visibility and relevance.
Getting
Um,
good feedback.
Yeah. Peter?
I don't want to disagree with that because I thought he made some good points, but I think it's a little unusual to forecast a 12-month budget and you expect to have a new activity or expanded old activity and not put that in both the revenue and the expense side. The budget's a living document anyway. You don't spend money you don't have. I'd like to see that in the budget as a revenue item and attach it to, I don't know, 43 members. If we don't get to 43, we don't. The budget ought to reflect what we think our business is going to be for the year.
Okay.
I mean,
So you're making the case for a more optimistic revenue assumption.
well, it's not, it's based on fact. I mean, you would budget for activities that you're going to propose to do, and it should show up in the budget. So when would you add it? You just go along and then in August you get a member, you add $250, and then you go in October, you get a member, you add $250 to the budget again? I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense from the budgeting standpoint, I don't think.
Or would you not have a budget and then a forecast that's the living
Well,
document?
your budget is the forecast, actually.
Okay,
I
discussion.
mean, that's my opinion on budgeting, so.
I disagree with
Right.
that, but the facts are that the renewal rate is less than 100%.
Yeah.
So assuming 100% continuation assumes that you lose some and then you have to gain back some,
Right,
just to keep it at the same current numbers. But because it has been decreasing. And so efforts are underway to keep it from decreasing. And all I'm saying is, right now, this is what it's projecting out, and we can manage all the expenses within that by cutting a couple of things. One is having more volunteers on the survey.
so you're telling me that I don't want to beat it to death. I know we're on a schedule. Let's talk about this going forward. I have a concern about it. If we're only going to have 30, if we're thinking we're only going to have 35 members because 5 are going to drop out, we ought to budget 35. If we think we're going to have 45 because people are going to add, we ought to put the 45 in. So, but let's move on because I know you're a little
Okay,
time.
so
constrained.
we will refine this and have some more conversations before we get to January in the hopes of adopting it at that point. The next item is 2024 accomplishments. And, oh, Summer is here. Okay, so let's, at this point, sorry, I didn't see you come in, Summer. So let me turn it over to Jamie.
Okay, everybody, I wanted to introduce you to Summer Dawn Wallace. You can come on up here, Summer, just so everybody can see you and hear you. You can sit, you can stand, this way everybody can, yeah, wherever you.
We've got a camera up here.
Yep, so we have people looking.
Fancy.
So Summer is the founder and the producing artistic director at Urbanite Theater. And I will turn this over to.
Are we ready? Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon. I'm Summer Dawn Wallace. As Jamie said, I'm producing artistic director at Urbanite Theater. I'm always just curious to everybody who's here in the room, how many of you have been to Urbanite Theater? Woohoo! We've got some Urbanite fans in the house. Yay!
Jamie.
She dragged you there. Well, I love to talk about Urbanite. It's my baby. It's something I'm extremely passionate about. So Urbanite is located in kind of, I call it the heart of downtown. We're right across the street from Whole Foods on 2nd Street. Kawa Coffee Shop is in the front of the building. You follow, I call it the Space Alien mural on the side of the building, and we're right there in the back. Technically, we were there way before Kawa, but we were founded in 2014 and we're entering into our 11th season. And Urbanite is known for bold, innovative new work. We're a black box theater space, which really that just means we have flexible seating. So if you go to see something at the Oslo, that is a proscenium style stage setup where kind of the play is up there and then you kind of observe it from here. Where at Urbanite, you usually are part of the play, whether you like it or not. Because it's an intimate space. We're 65 to 78 seats, depending on that seating configuration that we really do tend to move the seats around quite a bit. So even if you have been to Urbanite once, to really kind of get the full Urbanite experience, you have to at least come at least maybe 2 times or 3 times, because the space is going to be completely different and the style of the play is going to be completely different. So we do focus on new works. Those plays are generally written within the last 5 years. It could be a play that's maybe been written within the last 10 if it's a play that hasn't had a lot of life. We tend to do world premieres of plays or 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th productions of plays. We often have the playwrights as part of the process. So we are really working on fresh new material. And sometimes often the productions at Urbanite, our audiences have an influence on kind of what happens to the play. Reactions, things that the audiences kind of gave feedback about and so forth might get incorporated into kind of that 2nd production. So most likely you've not heard of a single play, not going to know what the title is. So you are taking a risk as an audience member. But that's what kind of makes us special. And makes us innovative kind of in the community. We are an associate member of the NNPN, which is the National New Play Network. So we partner with them as well. And several of our plays that we have done have started with us and then have had what's called a rolling world premiere. So a playwright, 3 theaters sign on to produce a play. So that playwright has 3 opportunities with that one particular play to be done at 3 different theaters. It's different casts, different directors each time. But it's an opportunity for them to kind of continue to tinker on that play and really get it ready to kind of go out kind of on the larger scale. And most of the time when you go to the theater and you see a play, it's had thousands of productions or a workshop, a secondary workshop, a 3rd workshop. Example of a play like that would be Beautiful. That's if you haven't seen at the Oslo Rep, go see it. It's a fabulous production. But that play had many, many workshops. It's had many, many national tours. It's been on Broadway. And now this really wonderful production here in Sarasota. But that play had to start somewhere and before it could get to Broadway. And so that's kind of the type of work that we're doing. Other things to know about us, we have a very vibrant emerging artist program. We work with new college students, Ringling students. I'm a proud graduate of the FSU Oslo Conservatory, one of the best training conservatories in the country. And so proud graduate of that program. So we do utilize a lot of the conservatory students as well. We have artistic fellowships in directing, technical work, also administrative things as well. And so that's a big thing for us. And then also it's really supporting artists as a whole. So if we are working with playwrights that are parents, we provide them childcare. As part of our season planning, we want to make sure that we have equal representation in the season so that we're producing female playwrights and male playwrights equally, and that we have equal opportunities in terms of actors for equal amount of roles as well. It is a professional company, so we work with artists from California, Chicago, New York City, all across the country. Our last play that we just closed, Jennifer Who Is Leaving, I was incredibly proud of, in that we had 3 Oslo Conservatory graduates in it. One, a graduate from 1981, a graduate from 2012, and a graduate from 2024. So that's part of the way that Urbanite gives back. And then also part of our programming, we like to partner with other local nonprofits. If we have a play that has a theme that we think a local nonprofit we might share, we'd like to feature that nonprofit in our digital program. Sometimes we'll do a give back night and so forth. So that's kind of important to our work. Our play that we just closed took place in a Dunkin' Donut shop. Our next play is taking place in Mars. So you'll be inside a spaceship if you come to see us. And that is part of the process of trying to make the play as immersive as possible. And we say that our plays, we want to leave you have a little bit more empathy. We want you to have a wonderful time, but we want you to continue the conversation in the car. So while seeing a play that is beautiful and just is a lovely evening and you never think about it again is totally valid. But we like to do work that like you might wake up the next morning and need to be like, I got to talk about that moment that happened. So that's kind of the work that we're known for. And that's Urbanite. And I feel very proud to lead the company. We're a small team. We have 5 main full-time employees, and then we employ about 55 other artists throughout the year. And then we also have, I haven't talked about our Modern Works Festival, which is a new play festival. And that play festival alone usually employs about 35 to 40 artists each season. And so that's it. Any questions I can answer about the theater or things that you're dying to know? Yes, sir.
Well, I saw Jennifer
Yes.
last week, and I was with 2 friends, one of whom was a retired Broadway actor, and the other was a documentary film producer, Emmy Award winning. And they hated it.
That's okay.
And the reason, and it got me to thinking afterward and the next morning. And I began to wonder, are you getting a different response from the women in the audience as opposed to the men?
Oh, for Jennifer, who is leaving. So Jennifer, who is leaving, it takes place in a Dunkin' Donut shop. You meet the character of Nan and Jennifer, who's a caregiver. And the play kind of really dives into invisible labor that women tend to take on, as well as the challenge of being a caregiver, not just from a patient-nurse relationship, but also you're a caregiver in a marriage or caregiver as a parent. So I would say it's mixed. I have had men who have also left the play. If you hate the play, great, I got a response. I would also say, well, why did you hate the play? Did it hit a little too close to home? Did it make you think? Did it shed a little light on yourself? And that's okay. I don't think everybody should love every single play that they go and see. I think that's not art. Art is subjective. Something that you're going to hate, somebody else is going to think it's the best thing that they've ever seen. And we got rave reviews. So, some
And it's
people
selling
absolutely, yep, we sold out.
Yeah.
So some people loved it.
I didn't hate it, because the only feeling I had was that the direction was kind of heavy-handed. But then it's Celine Rosenthal. I know who she is.
That's okay. I would disagree, but that's okay. The thing about our play is that about our space is you can't hide as an actor. So it's honest. And so whether you like it or not, the actors are being truthful in the moment. It's much easier to hide as an actor on a larger stage. You're like, oh, I'm just not feeling it tonight, so I'm just going to fake it. You can't do that at Urbanite because you're right there, right? Is when it's acting. I will say we had a talk back, and we had 2 men in the audience, and one kind of gave the feedback that, well, the play just made me a little sad. And I was like, well, can you explain that? What does that mean? And it was like, well, I thought it was kind of sad, that the satire that this is what these women were going through. It was kind of a satire. And I was like, well, let me poll the rest of the audience. Does this feel like satire? And when you have all of the women in the room go, absolutely not, this is real life. And I'm like, well, I'm glad it made you sad. This is what other people are experiencing. So, as I said, you can hate the work that we do. And we don't do plays to inspire you to hate us. We're not picking plays. Sometimes we get called edgy, which I detest. I think we're just doing contemporary new work that's a slice of life from today. And my job as a theater maker is to invoke empathy and to maybe showcase other communities, other slices of things that are happening that makes you think and feel. And so you might learn or see yourself in a character. So sometimes people might hate us because the content is too racy for them, or there's language or nudity, which we haven't actually done a play with nudity in a while. So you're safe. But I think if you like HBO, if you're watching anything on Netflix, you're actually kind of watching the same material. It's just different when it's on a screen and you can do that from the comfortability of your sofa versus when you're actually feeling it in the moment in the space with other people. Any other?
Fortunate.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
The size of your venue,
Mhm.
there's a lot of discussion in town about potential new performing arts center, this theater, medium size, whatever. How is, as you look ahead with 80 seats or something like that, how is that working for you and your vision going forward?
Oh, that's a great question. So the thing that I think makes part of what makes Urbanite special is our intimate space, because it's a different experience for the audience. Would I love if our space was still intimate and we had maybe 100 chairs? Yeah, that'd be great, because that's can be an additional, $100,000 a year in terms of revenue, those chairs. So kind of grand vision, right now we are renters. So I would love for Urbanite to be able to maybe potentially own a space, or be able to utilize a facility where we had a secondary space so that we could be producing more work. Right now, we kind of have to work on a play, put up a play, go dark, rehearse, then put up the next one. And the more that your lights are on, the more revenue that you can create because you're constantly running. Right now, we're doing 4 main stage productions and a festival. Prior to COVID, we were doing 5 shows and a festival. And to fit in that extra 5th show, we had to overlap 2 of our productions, which that was kind of a lot on the team. And then coming out of COVID, we also wanted to change our working standards. So we moved to a 5-day work week. That's never happened for me, but for the rest of the team, the staff, we want to give our artists and staff 2 days off a week. And traditionally, a theater tech, it's called a 10 out of 12, where generally you've got like 4 12-hour days back to back, putting the sound and lights and everything together with the show. And so we have spread that out over kind of a 4-day period of that 8-hour day to kind of make it a little bit more manageable for the artist, and to be able to give artists a little bit more of a life-work balance. And so to stick in those 2 days off a week, it also elongated our calendar. So that makes it kind of impossible to fit a 5th show into our fiscal year without doing a total overlap. And we can't do a total overlap unless we had another space where we could be producing more work. So in time, I'd love to have either a little bit of a larger space or another smaller space where we could be workshopping new work or something else is happening.
Are you an equity theater?
We are non-union, but we utilize equity contracts. So we use guest artists. It's called Tier 2 or Tier 3. The only thing that is stopping us currently from going to, because I'm a member of Actors Equity, we always operate on equity rules, whether or not we have a full equity cast or not. So what's keeping us from going full equity house is housing. Because once you are an equity house, then the actors union dictates to you how many union actors you have to utilize. So if we have roles for, say, 15 actors that year, then equity comes to me and says, wonderful, 10 of those actors have to be union. And we don't have a large enough equity talent pool that's local. So until we have maybe additional housing that we can bring more people in from out of town, or the Sarasota artistic community grows, we're kind of holding back on that.
Jamie.
When is your next show if somebody wanted to go see?
Thank you for that. I will see all of you at Spaceman. Even if you hate it, I want to see you there. So our next play is Spaceman. It opens January 4th and it runs through February 18th, I believe. I've got brochures, flowers, and free tickets, so you have no excuse. But Spaceman, we meet the character of Molly Jennis. She's on a solo mission to Mars. We learn in the play that her husband, a year prior, had also tried to make this mission and didn't make it. And so the play is really about this quest for kind of the unknown and survival. And then we kind of dive into AI and the challenges of AI a little bit. And it's a fun one. And we've never done a play like this at Urbanite. It's right now just with sound cues alone. And this is even in the tech part. Right now we have 492 sound cues. And I assume we probably might have into the thousands. And so that's not even lights. So it really is going to be an immersive experience, so that when you are experiencing the show, that you feel like you're going to Mars as well.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
remember, when you go to the show, there's complimentary wine.
There is free wine. Yes.
Complimentary wine as you walk in. That's a little sweet.
We should have started with this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is free wine. And we have no intermission. So usually you can get in and out within about 90 minutes.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. It's a great venue. It's a great, they do have Sunday matinees for matinee folks. It's a great spot. Yeah. Moving along, we had in your backup packet a draft of our accomplishments summary. And in addition to making us feel good about work we do, the intent is that that would accompany when we send out renewals with the appropriate cover letter, if you will. So as you look at that, Patrick, thanks for the work on that. We moved some stuff, but we didn't, maybe at this point, I don't know if we go in and do the by month version with links to the newsletters, but maybe I'll find some time to try and do that before the renewals go out. But if you have any comments, if we missed anything, we're trying to hit the Goldilocks level of detail with, hitting on some of the high spots by category, but not getting too far into minutia. So it's a good list, and thanks to all of you for helping make it happen. So,
David, if I could, as a request to all of our member reps from the member condominiums, to look at this also and feedback on which things that DSCA has accomplished, has done, are of value to your residents or to your property management folks. So we should help focus more on some of those.
yeah, and what things might we be missing? What are there holes in there, or areas where you feel DSCA could have been more involved? And of course, advocate for when that invoice comes that we, it's $250, folks. So we think we're worth a couple lattes a month as far as the value we try and bring.
Popcorn.
Yeah, and wine and popcorn. Membership renewal, when, Patrick and Jamie, when we'll be sending those out? Maybe next week or?
Well, as soon as we can get the accomplishments done, it was scheduled for like the 7th or 8th, so that's this weekend, coming weekend. So my goal would be to have this document completed by Friday.
Okay. All right. And we can collaborate on the cover letter. I know we had some thoughts a month or so ago with, and then we were going to customize for, renewals or people that have lapsed, kind of bringing them back. Oh,
People.
yeah. So, there we go. All right. So we'll be working on that, and between myself and some other board members trying to do a better job of beating the bushes, dialing for dollars, frankly, on some of this stuff. City update, any old business? No. City update, Kathy, you have anything?
No, I don't.
Particular? I did put in the backup a transcript from the city commission meeting Monday. And that is finally the sound ordinance appears. Bob Fournier spoke of that as wanting to come back in January, right? In a couple pieces. So now that has been sitting around for 2 or 3 years. But the hope is certainly before Bob retires, that gets institutionalized, if you will. So it looks like it's, coming ahead. The other thing that Bob is looking for further direction is the so-called sit-lie ordinance, which is kind of de facto tabled, I guess. And Bob is saying from a legal standpoint, he's prepared to bring it back, but he's looking for direction from the commission, and it is a degree of controversy, including if SPD supports this. So that is going to be a topic of discussion. Exactly where it goes, I don't know. Other than that, as far as city updates,
then I think some of that might be addressed in some way on December the 9th.
okay. All right. Moving ahead, arts and cultural. Ken, what have you got?
Yeah, there were 2 Purple Ribbon Committee meetings in November, one on November 7th, and they had a report from Mary Bensel about the damage to the Van Wezel, which I discussed at the last board meeting of DSCA. And so she confirmed what I had said. They also had David Karen from the Karen Engineering Company give them an update on the progress, not the findings of, but the progress of their report. So we really don't know what's going on yet until they make the final report. And of course, it'll go to the city commission before it comes to the committee. The November 25th meeting turned out to be a very productive meeting because they actually engaged all of the commission or committee members in a discussion of what they expected or wanted or thought should be in a report of recommendations from the committee. So it was very productive. One notable thing happened. Leanne Chung, the chair of the committee, resigned from the committee and the chair. I don't know why, she didn't say, but she did say 2 things before she left. One was she didn't think that the Van Wezel needed historic designation. She didn't say why. And she's a civil engineer, by the way, so she's speaking from a professional point of view. She also said that it would be cost prohibitive to flood-proof the Van Wezel structure. So this past week, the Florida Studio Theater submitted their administrative site plan for a 9-story building adjacent to the Gompertz Theater, which would have 24 residential units, 33 hotel rooms, and 24,000 square feet of non-residential space, presumably for the theater or retail, I don't know yet, and 135 parking places inside the building. The Arts and Cultural Alliance of Sarasota County had a retreat yesterday. I've mentioned before, I recently joined that board, and it was very productive. I think that organization's been rejuvenated, revitalized. It's really got some plans looking forward to the future, and there are some interesting people on it now. Mark Tuckman, who owns 99 Bottles, is on the board. And there are a lot of arts people. Pedro Reese is on the board, Mary Bensel, Larry Thompson. It's a very strong board. So we'll see how.
Executive director there now?
Pardon me?
Who's the executive director there now?
Brian Hirsch. Brian Hirsch is the executive director, and he's relatively new too. Tonight, Selby Gardens is having the preview of their Lights and Bloom show for board members and advisory committee members and donors. On November 7th through the 17th, Sarasota Rising had their first annual Living Arts Festival. I think part of the problem with it was organizational. I think some things happen because of the hurricanes that influence the involvement of some of the participants. So hopefully next year it'll do better. I think everybody knows that the City Commission has approved the delay of the submission of the implementation agreement by SPAC, the Sarasota Performing Arts Center, to the Commission for approval. And there are several reasons. They want to beef up information about the preliminary site plan for the new structure, permitting and construction schedule, budgeting and funding options, and approvals needed to begin the development of the structure. So more to come, and that will be March 31st, I believe, March 31st, that it will be due to the commission. And that's it.
Good, thank you. Jamie, associate events between you and Peter?
Yeah, we have a few things coming up. The big one is this coming Monday at the library downtown. It's our homelessness town hall. We have 104 people already registered.
Wow.
So really good turnout. And I'm sure we'll have more people coming at the door. We can hold 130. What usually happens in these situations, you have some people register and then you have some walk in. So we actually anticipate a very good turnout. And again, that's going to be this Monday at starting at 5 o'clock. And then Peter can maybe talk more about it if he'd like to during the homelessness committee. The event charges, we're going to keep the same for the for the platinum member events. We're going to keep the member charge the same for $10, but we are proposing a raise for the non-members up to $20 this year. So hopefully I'll bring a little more revenue and encourage others who are not members to become members. So our spring workshop, we just started talking about. A tentative date has been set for 3/27, so more to come on that.
Good. Green space is open. Homeless, Peter? What?
Not much to report beyond the forum on the 9th. We've got the panel pretty much selected and in place. We've got the venue pretty much selected and in place. And all we need is 104 registrants to come. And if any of those 104 are listening and you want to yet submit a question that you don't think we've already covered, well, you don't know what we've covered, but we've covered the waterfront pretty well. But if you have a burning question, we're trying to get those questions to the forefront because although we'll have audience cards and we'll pick them up at the end in some manner, those become problematic, sorting them out and finding which ones we can use and which ones that we can't use. So to guarantee that you might be considered or make sure that we have the right questions, submit it to my email address, which is eagle like the bird 641 @verizon.net.
Thank you. Transportation, Roger?
Thank you. Well, on the agenda and something to look forward to is a meeting on December 17th of this month at 5 p.m. at Silver Library concerning the Main Street, Complete Streets redesign. There's a draft coming forward and a compilation of the ideas that have been collected from the spring and the fall. This should be quite fascinating, I think. And I'd encourage you to attend if you're interested in the redesign of Main Street into a more walkable, pedestrian-friendly Main Street. The other comment as well, there was scheduled for December a realignment and a restriping of the Gulfstream roundabout at US 41. That was scheduled to happen in December, along with relocating some of the warning signs and hoping to alert motorists what yield means. We have a rather strange education system for the public to learn how to drive in our company. We use the insurance companies and they teach people by raising their rates.
Great, thank you. And I really do encourage people this 17th workshop, show up, write. We've seen this movie before about how some of these are held, and I think to make your input known and in writing and specifically, this is going to be critical. It's from 41 all the way to school, I believe, is the scope of this. So this is long and one of the economic arteries and amenity arteries of the city. And given the unfortunate circumstances at St. Armand's, it takes on that much more importance in a, I'm not saying in a good way, but it's that much more important to the economic viability and charm viability, relevancy of viability. So please do everything you can to get there on the 17th.
Quick question, Roger. At that meeting, who's going to attend and what's the purpose and what's the outcome?
Well, in the spring, there were workshops. I'm sorry. In the spring, there were a series of workshops for the public to attend to share their ideas. They had boards out and people would do sketches and talk about, do you want bike lanes? Do you want parallel parking? Do you want vertical parking? How wide of sidewalks do you want? Do you want street front? Anyway, it went through the entire piece of collecting people's ideas on this, and have gone back to the planning firm, which has been hired to put this together. And they're coming forward then with a draft now of proposals about what it might look like and for the public to react to that. And if you think about it for a second, Main Street's undergoing a transformation at this point. And if you go to Sewell Avenue or to US 41, with the huge numbers of new apartments, the new retail, new condos, new development, that part of the downtown is also evolving and changing. And it's always been pretty dead, and now it's become, has the potential of being very lively.
Maybe to, I think to answer your question, the format they have used in the last couple is that a couple transportation planners for the city make a 10-15-minute presentation, and then they go to a breakout area where they've got designs laid out on flat tables, and people can talk to them or put Post-it notes on it and so forth. So I don't know if for sure they'll follow that format, but that's what they've done in the past. Okay. Can we put that, let's go into that PowerPoint now, if we would. Okay. And Patrick McNamee and I worked on this, and I'm going to go through this quickly, but it's something important that's coming up.
Practice. Click on the draw there.
Oh,
Back in the beginning.
oh, is that on?
Oh, it's not on the screen. It says on screen share. Oh, I see. I get it now. We got you. All right.
Okay, the Saravella condos. This is the old toasted.
I'm doing the clicking.
Okay, back, okay. Okay, Saravella, the old toasted mango, next. Okay, it's number 3 in the upper left-hand corner. of that area. It's all 7 or 8 of those parcels. Next. This is a drone shot looking down at the Toasted Mango on the bottom left and the derelict motel. You can notice all the trees and the current situation with abandoned or mostly abandoned homes. It would be the development of those projects. Next. Okay, that's an artist rendering of one of the concept. For brevity's sake, not going to include more, but to give you a flavor. Next. It's one of the things is about, if you go back, it's the vacation of the alley in between the two properties currently. And the test of a alley vacation is that there's a public benefit to that. It would be the largest condo in the city, 271 units. It's coming through the DRC process now. Next. Yeah, it would be approved administratively. There are 68 trees, all of which are proposed to be removed, including 13 over 16 inches in diameter. Next. So if this happens, there would be the elimination of the current alley. The access currently out of the Toasted Mango would be eliminated, and the alley reconfigured to dogleg out onto 4th or 5th Street. Next. There's a bird's eye view. You can see the alley bisecting the parcels there, 20 feet wide. Next. There's another shot showing its proximity to the VLVD and McCollin in the background there. Next. That's it on the right-hand side. You can see the derelict motel on the right. This was taken 6 months ago, and you can see the Cordelia apartments on the left. That's about 250 apartments. Those are completed and being occupied at this point. Next. So there will be, it's administratively approved. The alley vacation is to be proposed. A community workshop was held in July. There's 4 related approvals, and the site plan, and this gets a little confusing, folks. The site plan will be coming to the DRC on the 18th of this month. The alley vacation portion of this application does have to go to the planning board. The site plan does not, because of its location downtown. Next. There is a public benefit test. Again, the applicant is to show that there is a benefit to the community to doing this, and the applicant is proposing some improvements to sidewalk width, tree spacing, but it's not very much. And there would be a 2,400 square feet of green space adjacent to a new leg to the alley. Next. So the question is, for the community and for us, is city staff may not be taking a position on this alley vacation. How do we as the community, what is the subjective test of the benefits versus the cost in terms of that alley vacation? It could be one big building that you saw in the artist rendering, or it would be possible to in effect require the applicant to build 2 buildings and leaving that alley space open. Next. Yeah, this 1 or 2 building greater, what is what are they proposing? We know that they're planning to cut down 68-ish trees, put some, along the street, but what is the offer, so as to speak? Next. One of the things we saw Bob Bunning last week talk about heat island effects, lack of breeze, loss of greenery. And in my opinion, the developer at this point has not been sensitive enough to the concerns expressed in July. Next. So recommendation is wait to see what the applicant finally is going to suggest and go to next. We've done some fairly extensive drone work. I only showed a couple images there, but the big one that's coming up in the next slide is through the generosity of a DSCA board member. We have now commissioning some 3D modeling and some airflow simulations, some very high tech stuff that we hope to have available in the next days. So we're interested in speaking with data, speaking with facts, and simulating some of this wind analysis to show what the degradation to the area would be versus 1 versus 2 buildings versus what the baseline is now. Next. The other thing is, I won't get into it now, but there is a potential opportunity for additional park space in the area using impact fees from this project. It would take me too long to go into that now, but we're working on scenarios to present to our community of what is enough, and is there I'm going to use the word compromise. Is there something that is neutral to positive, a benefit to the community? And so does anybody, we don't have a lot of time. This is coming down the pike decently quick. Didn't want to surprise anybody with it. It will be the biggest condo project. It's bigger than Renaissance. To wrap your mind around that. It's 18 stories along 41, then it steps back to 11 as you go to the east. They will be wishing to take part of the bonus density opportunity, so it would have 30 attainable units as part of the 271 total. Patrick McNamee and I have been involved in this and had some discussions with the representative of the developer, but didn't want to do this in a vacuum without engagement, and trying to find the Goldilocks, way to engage with the board and the community on this.
The good news is the developer met with us and wants to work with the community to serve our needs, but he wants 1 building, not 2. And the purpose of the wind study is to demonstrate that 2 buildings is actually going to be better for the community with respect to heat management. He doesn't want 2 buildings, so we're trying to use that as a leverage point to get him back to the table to make sure he understands what the community wants, which is going to be all the things that David mentioned. And I think that's going to be possible because he's been listening to us, and now we have some pretty good leverage, I would say. But the bottom line is, though, they're going to build a big building there, and it's going to be a mess one way or the other. But what can we get out of it that is the best possible? That's really kind of where we are.
Yeah. So this more information, it is at a point where we are getting like it or not, a canyoning as you come down 41. We know the setbacks of some of the buildings. One park is 0 lot line, so we're having, increasingly as you get to Boulevard of the Arts coming south, you're going to have 18-story buildings, and what is possible, what is realistic, what is, if there is such a thing as a win-win or a mitigating design elements that we can come together on in a way.
Is the wind study including all of the new construction that's in the quay? because it seems to me that all of the one park and one park west and, you know, the other one, the new building from the Ritz that's going up, that's going to be going across there. It looks like that, is that going to be included in the wind
Yes,
study?
here's how it goes, Bob. We modeled all the buildings. We put one park in place, all the existing buildings, everything
But the
that's
stuff
coming.
that's okay, so
Everything that's coming is in the 3D model. We're assuming when this thing built, what's it gonna
Because it
look like?
seems like that would block so much of the wind
I know,
anyway.
but we're still trying to find a way to say 2 buildings is better than 1. And so far, the data is starting to point itself in that direction, assuming all these other
But it
buildings are in
seems like
place.
you could probably use it as more of a bargaining chip to get something else that you want, because
That's the
I
whole
don't
point.
see I don't see the guy even going through with the thing unless he can get his one building from when he spoke. I'm
That's
trying
it.
to remember when I saw him speak, but.
So I don't know, I don't know how this is exactly gonna play out, but wanted to expose you that we know the controversy about street vacations, legitimately so. And this one is a big deal and it's coming down the pike. So without taking further
I just
time.
want to make one comment. You're assuming a street vacation or an alley vacation is a bad thing. And that's not necessarily true. Number one, the city does not own most of the streets. The streets are easements
Mhm.
over private property.
Mhm.
So that's one thing to take into consideration. You haven't mentioned the public benefit to the city government either. And there is another side to that story. And I think it's unfair to present to people a one-sided set of options. And where are you proposing to present? Are you talking about lobbying people on the commission individually or the planning board individually? Or are you talking about doing testimony at a planning board meeting or a city commission meeting? And what really bothers me is the departure of the organization from our traditional approach to development, which is let's fix the rules instead of getting in the weeds with individual developments where we're much less effective. So I think we need to be, if we decide to move forward with doing anything in a public way, we need to be sure we have strong information behind us instead of a personal preference. And there is a public reaction to development that is negative to begin with. And it's not always negative. I mean, look at what's happened with Selby Gardens. It's gotten a worldwide response. And we had a substantial negative reaction to it at the beginning.
Oh, hold it now. Okay.
One story, Barbara.
Okay. The reason to show this was to give transparency, to speak with as many facts as we can.
Well, I
Okay.
understand, and that's what
Okay.
I'm encouraging you to do.
Okay.
But what I've seen up there is a bit one-sided.
Okay.
This is Peter Blanton. I guess what I would say.
My understanding is we're trying to get as much preliminary information as we can. What's it gonna look like? What?
Good.
Yeah.
Good, and I said that.
It's obvious, and I think it's been the position of this board, with that kind of information, the board decides this is worthy of taking this position for this particular element, not. This is preliminary, you know, I assume it's gonna come back to the board with, this is what we've found. These are our principles that.
Exactly.
Okay,
It needs
these
to
are
come back
our
to the board.
principles. Do we want to formulate statements around those that we can bring forth to the public in some manner?
Yeah, and I think you make one thing I recognize, or just to be clear, this is private property, the alley, to which there is a public access in perpetuity. So it is true that it is not city land. Okay, I acknowledge that. Okay.
Yeah.
Two things. One, as this year, we began with strong support for the 6 presenters on downtown planning, et cetera. Of those came from outside urban planners. almost to the one, we're saying, keep your breezeways open. You're adding more buildings. You are increasing the heat island effect. And if you start closing off east-west breezeways, alleys, streets, you will add to that. It makes it even doubles or more, increases it. So keeping breezeways open. So that was part of what national planners, international planners were telling us. We had climate adaptation come in and show us there. What I see David and Patrick McNeil doing is trying to do exactly what Ken was saying, is where are the facts by doing a scientific study so we can better determine what the urban planners were saying. Then beyond that, urban planners laid out a network of streets and alleys for a purpose that should not be closed unless for extenuating circumstances, like when a dead end is no longer in use. But when you have active alleys that were part of a urban planning network, that's a key question why you would say that those planners were wrong to plan for those alleys. And plus, as we see, thirdly, is it does impact the livability when you remove so many trees and put up a few springs. So I think the livability is a key factor too.
Okay, so the idea is to start with, one, it's exposed to you folks. Two, we're trying to speak with facts and where we are. So to be continued.
And I can support that.
Okay, good. The Hyatt, there was a workshop 3 weeks ago that is coming to the planning board in a week or two.
No, clear. The workshop was a voluntary workshop for the site plan. They do workshop on the admin?
There's an adjustment
Right.
requested that's going to the planning
I know, but
board.
that was not the committee workshop that was done voluntarily
No,
Okay.
I'm talking about a planning board meeting coming up,
of the
For-
adjustment only.
the adjustment only. Okay, so that's coming up. Miramar comp plan change is been submitted yesterday on that. That's 2 35-unit towers, I believe, that seems to be getting pretty good reviews for what that's worth. Okay, Bay Park Conservancy, Bob, you have anything?
Not much is happening, obviously, waiting for some of the work to start as far as the recovery from the hurricanes. I guess in January, we're supposed to get looking again for something happening at the Van Weasel. Is that when they're hoping to have?
I don't
performances
know.
again?
I can't predict.
Well, no,
Is
you've been
David-
more involved.
Is David still here? He's been in
I
and
know
out.
that
of
was
the-
that was the hope. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that's still, if they're still on track for that with the work that they're doing there. Obviously.
They say they are.
You walk by there and they were obviously working on it aggressively.
Yeah.
So you've got that. Nothing has really happened along the shoreline, obviously. I think they have to rethink what they're doing on the sustainable frontage there because it's not obviously very sustainable at this point.
Right.
As we just got the notice, given that we're right across the street from there for the, I think it's the third or fourth study on the boat ramp. If you've ever been through that whole process before, it's probably going to be, I'm just going from as a real estate broker, I bet you they don't get anything started on that for another couple of years. With the way that they've got to go to the Corps of Engineers and they've got to go to the, getting all the variances that they're having on the dockage that they're wanting to put along the canal there. But because again, we just got another notice here about another meeting about going in and the changes they want to make, which are all minor changes, but it's still the process is what it is, and getting the Corps of Engineers and the environmental people to sign off on it and everything takes an awful lot of time.
Did they say anything about the Sunset Pier?
From what I know, as far as I think that's kind of almost on hold.
That's for sure on hold. And in fact, there was a discussion that AG mentioned that could be a ballpark figure, if you can believe it was $20 million. So I think
It
that's on.
sounds like it's dead in the water.
Well, and that's, I mean, especially with the fact that when they did studies over there, there's some coral over there. There's some, there's some wetlands and stuff over there for the manatees, not the wetlands, the seagrass, and all of that. And again, it's sort of that same thing. I mean, that's sort of the same thing with the spacing, how big the gap is between the planks on a pier, as an example, is something that they go into when they look at that. So.
Okay. CCNA, there's a meeting on Saturday. I don't have anything on that today. Rosemary District parking is becoming
I got a ticket yesterday.
a big topic. People, businesses are realizing that with the toasted mango going over there, that it's an issue that is going to be increasingly important. Rosemary District Association it's kind of their baby in a way. I will say at the McCowan site, the parking lot of McCowan, there is an early stage concept now for that site that is something like 150 senior low-income housing units, 3 floors of parking and retail on the ground floor. The original concept that had been floated 4 years ago was 510 parking spots and maybe a little taller building. So that's out there. And if you think about that site, if you aren't putting more public parking there, where are you going to put it? And it also has a ripple effect on the Performing Arts Center support or the Bay Park for parking. So this is getting increasing scrutiny, if you will, of the intersection between the Performing Arts Center parking needs and overflow, and the Rosemary needs, and the needs for more attainable or low income housing. So just to let you know, without going into detail, that it is really increasingly on radar screens and in discussion with commissioners. That's all I have. Platinum members. Jamie, do we have?
So I'm sure many of you guys know that we have associate members that help support our business. So always important that you let them have their say and tell us all about your business. I'm going to start with Steve. I see you back there. So come on up.
Holidays, no big.
Hey, Steve, grab a mic. Yeah, come on up.
Hi, Steve Shaw from Hotwire Communications. It's holidays, so no big business announcements. I will say that we are continuing to grow at a very, very strong pace here in Sarasota. Sunset Towers has just signed on as a new Hotwire client. The Sanctuary out on Longboat Key adds to about 6 properties now on Longboat Key. We've completed our fiber running down 41 out across the bay to Longboat. So we now have fiber that actually links all the way out on Longboat Key, which is very exciting, especially when you're talking about hurricane season. Fiber optics is not affected by hurricanes. And unlike the traditional coaxial cable, which depends so much on electricity, and those of you who have had some Comcast problems where your cable's been out for literally weeks after a hurricane, those kind of issues don't occur with fiber optics. So we're very excited about the continued growth, very excited about our involvement with DSCA, and look forward to another successful year in 2025.
We actually have Tony Britt, Birdview Yacht Club. She's like, no.
I thought I'd ask the real power behind it.
Hi, thank you very much. My name's Tony Britt. I'm with the Birdview Yacht Club. And a couple of real interesting things. Shortly before Thanksgiving, we had a member meeting to vote on whether or not the membership approved of our rebuilding our club from scratch, basically scraping the ground and starting and rebuilding a club for the next 65 years. Of the votes present that night and proxies, we received a 99.5% approval rating, which is unheard of. So we were obviously thrilled. We all thought we'd won the Powerball. And we also simultaneously on the same day heard that the DRC had granted partial approval for our permitting plans, which apparently, from what I understand, is far more positive than it sounds. It means that there's just a number of minor points that need to be addressed. And it's proceeding slowly through the 18 various downtown Sarasota bodies that it needs to be approved on. So a lot of good news, and that's it from us.
You do for the club after you point it down.
Well, I'm going to be the very lucky guy who's going to be the Commodore without a club. So we have a team in place now to basically over the next 14 months, starting in May 25, to basically simulate club life all throughout Sarasota. So looking at different venues, different restaurants, our reciprocal clubs that we're members of, Sarasota Yacht Club, et cetera. So it's going to be a tremendous effort, creativity. We plan to have at least 2 events per week for about 14 months or so. And it's going to be literally a big distraction to keep our membership so excited that they won't even realize there's a club being built. And then hopefully 14 months after that happens, we cut the ribbon, and I suspect I'll have a few people come up to me and say, why did we even build a club? We had so much fun without one. So to your point, it's going to be a ton of work, but it should be a lot of fun.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Craig Grady, Administrator for Alderman Oaks. Been in business now going on 28 years, working for Rusty Blix. We have also, I neglect this at times, Cornerstone Life Care is Don Fitz, our other partner. He may be zooming today, but anyway, he supports senior living in your communities in condos with services. But Don is the marketing director for Alderman Oaks and Cornerstone Life Care president. Pleased to be associated with both of them. Speaking of Arts and Cultural Alliance, a very appropriate topic for today in light of your program. Friday the 13th, easy date to remember. I'll have the flyers at the bar. You can pick them up. But we have Brian Hirsch, the CEO, Angelica Hall, Director of Grants, and Maria Loria speaking at Alderman Oaks on the 13th, the Arts and Cultural Alliance. I'll have these at the bar. So thank you all.
Fred, actually, David, if I could grab that. I just wanted to say something. So normally we have on our holiday party, we have wine as always, like our normal socials, and we have a nice little food spread. But today we actually have something very, very special. We have a very elevated food experience today brought to you by Chef Jonathan. I don't know if Chef Jonathan can come out here, and he's got a special surprise. David doesn't know this, but I actually know that this is David's birthday month, and it's a very big birthday. So the reason we have an elevated food experience is to celebrate David's 80th birthday. And David, I just want to say thank you for your dedication to the DSCA, your unwavering support of the city of Sarasota, and happy birthday. Happy birthday, my friend.
Jamie, thanks so much. I didn't expect this. Yeah, I can just say I love what I do, and we try hard. So thanks very much for all your participation, and have a great day. Thanks.
Don't blow them out yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I have something else for you. I was doing a little research and I found out that in the 1940s, the decade that David was born, there was a slang that came out and it was the cat's meow. And I have to say, back when houses were a little over $3,000, which is very far from what we have right now, David has been the cat's meow for the city of Sarasota. And in that, I do think that he reigns as someone very supreme. And this is for you, and I intend for you, and we all do, for you to put that on. And we want you to wear that this evening.
Oh, no.
There's nothing to wear when it's traffic.
Yes, it could be.
For
It
sure.
could be.
Oh, no.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Of course, and not only it's that.
Oh.
Oh, we got.
That's so you.
We did.
This?
You got upside down.
Martha, could you dress him? Now, Martha, could you draw some?
Somebody help. Somebody help.
Right shoulder.
All right, there we go. Under your.
All right.
Wait, we've got one more thing in there. You gotta dig in there. One more.
Oh, no.
Yes. For our game, right?
Now, what do you think is on the internet?
They're there forever.
Oh, no, please.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Oh, no,
everybody.
no.
I need a drink. Our guest speaker in January is going to be Stacy Mason, who is a director of human resources for the city, will be our guest speaker. And we switched this out with Stacy is kind of overseeing the search for the new city manager in combination with the commission. So we really look forward to engaging with her and learning about human resources, 850-ish employees at the city, and trying to find another person of interest to engage with as a community. So with that said, thank you. I think, all right, so let's let the,
Oh, one more thing.
Oh.
So we have a birthday card that some of us have already signed, so please make sure you guys say something super nice about David and sign it.
No, no.
Okay?
oh, okay. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Now, okay. Okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you.
We're adjourned.